always be times when we're put in situations and we don't have control over them. Then there's going to be times when we do have control over situations. And then there's going to be times when we have control over a situation and we purposefully squander the opportunity to take advantage of the control that we have. With that being said, let's talk about the exciting world of self sabotage. So, what is self sabotage? Self sabotage refers to intentional actions or behaviors that undermine our own progress and prevent us from achieving our goals. It's like having a tiny little gremlin living inside of our heads whispering, hey, let's mess this up. Even though it might seem counterintuitive, people absolutely engage in self sabotaging behaviors a lot more often than you might think. And there's a number of reasons why people do these things. Self sabotage can be conscious or unconscious acts. Sometimes we're fully aware of our self sabotage. For instance, imagine someone who's on a diet and they consciously devour an entire pint of ice cream. That's the sabotage gremlin at work. You're on a diet, noble quest to shed those few extra pounds. You've sworn off the sweets, and your resolve is as solid as a diamond. But then one evening, you find yourself standing in front of the freezer, staring at that cherry Garcia, thinking up excuses to justify eating it. You know exactly what you're doing. It's not accidental. It's not a momentary lapse. No, you consciously decide, I'm going to eat this pint of ice cream. Meanwhile, your sabotage gremlin's laying back and saying things in your subconscious like, well, why not? You've been working really hard, so you deserve this. And there you are, spoon in hand, diving headfirst into the creamy abyss. The satisfaction is immediate, the sweet, cold oblivion. But afterwards, as you wipe all the chocolate off your face, reality begins to set in. You've sabotaged your diet. You've betrayed your own commitment. Now you have to explain the whys of your behavior to yourself. Maybe it's rebellion, an act of defiance against the rules that you've imposed on yourself, or perhaps it's a desperate plea for comfort, a temporary escape from stress or emotional turmoil, or maybe it's just a way for you to reclaim some control over your life because sometimes even self sabotage feels better than feeling like you're powerless. Other times, the self sabotage could be a little sneakier. So, picture a person missing a work deadline. On the surface, it seems like they were just running late, but deep down, they fear the possible failure. So they unconsciously sabotage their goal of moving up in the company. You're at work, you have a bustling hive of productivity, you have a crucial project with a looming deadline. Your career trajectory hinges on nailing this assignment, but as the clock ticks mercilessly, you find that somehow you keep getting distracted. It's not that you're intentionally missing the deadline. You're also not lazily procrastinating. Instead, what you're doing is sabotaging your own progress. Deep down, your fears are gnawing at you. Your fear of failure, your fear of success, your fear of being seen as inadequate. So you unconsciously trip yourself up. You sabotage the very ladder that you're trying to climb up. And when the promotion opportunity arises, you're left wondering, why am I still on the same rung that I started? Because our unconscious self sabotage often stems from past wounds, the scars of failures or rejections that you actually suffered through in the past. It's kind of like a defense mechanism. If I fail deliberately, then at least I won't be blindsided by whatever possible disappointments could pop up. So sometimes it's an internal battle between the desire for growth and the fear of change. The sabotage gremlin is always telling you you need to keep yourself safe, don't risk it, you don't know what's going to happen. What if you fail? Just growing up in dysfunctional families can definitely contribute to your adult self sabotaging behavior. If you lacked a secure attachment style, you might carry an ambivalent or avoidant attachment pattern. So, attachment theory tells us that our early relationships shape how we connect with others later on in life. If you grew up with a dysfunctional family, your attachment style might bear the scars of that. So, think about a home where there's a lot of secrets and all types of abuse that left physical and even some invisible scars. In this house, you'll find that love was fragile. It was a commodity that was rationed out to the residents very unevenly. And in this type of home, self sabotage often tiptoes in through the back door because oftentimes when you grow up in the abuse, you don't see it as abuse. It just is. And yet, as an adult, you see how it sneaks in and manifests itself in some very harmful ways. So, on one hand, you have the ambivalent attachment, which looks like a child who tends to cling to their caregivers because they fear the abandonment. They crave the validation, but they also fear the possible rejection. When these children mature into adults, they will oscillate between seeking approval and pushing people away. And then on the other hand, you have the avoidant attachment, which looks like a child who learned to suppress the bulk of their needs. They became very self reliant, believing that vulnerability leads to disappointment. So as adults, they sabotage intimacy and cultivating close connections with other people by maintaining a emotional distance. They're very emotionally. Yeah, that's absolutely right. A lot of our adult self sabotaging behaviors stem from childhood traumas, and those traumas are usually caused by the adults in our lives who were supposed to be the ones who took care of us, brought us up. They were supposed to instill morals, values, and good character. So you have this kid, and then the adult in their life who they're supposed to depend on is repeatedly telling them that, oh, you'll never amount to much. They're always belittled and never given much positive reinforcement. So as an adult, you might unconsciously handicap yourself, ensuring that you always fall short of your goals and accomplishments. We have to remember that our words have power. Parents, guardians, teachers, aunts, uncles, grandparents, whoever, in their moments of frustration or just outright ignorance, they can sow seeds of doubt into their children's impressionable minds. These words are going to take root, and the child is going to internalize them. And when they grow up to be adults, their sabotage gremlin picks up where their parents or whoever the older person is left off by whispering negative thoughts and ideas that cause them not to even bother trying. So unconsciously, the adult sabotages their own potential. They shrink away from opportunities, fearing that in the end, they are just going to prove that their parent was right and that they are never going to amount. Even though we're all familiar with the ways in which childhood trauma can affect us in our adult lives, there are also traumas that we go through as adults will kickstart self-sabotaging behavior. So let's say that you just gotten out of a toxic relationship. Your ex was a master of undermining your self-worth. Their words cut like shards of glass. You're too needy. You'll never find anyone better. You're lucky I put up with you. Their words linger in the back of your mind on a daily basis, and they echo in empty rooms, reverberating through your head. So even after the breakup with them, their ghost still haunts your heart. And now, as you step into a new relationship, a sunnier landscape with someone who genuinely cares, then here comes your sabotage gremlin. First, the sabotage gremlin stirs up your fear of vulnerability. Your ex spent a lot of time handing out the put downs that just left you bruised. Vulnerability feels like standing naked in a hailstorm. So even in this great new relationship with someone who listens and laughs and loves, you hesitate. Your sabotage gremlin whispers things like, you need to watch out because you never know what's going to happen. You're letting this person into your life, and your vulnerability is going to let you get hurt again. Then your sabotage gremlin has you purposefully testing your new partner's boundaries. You're testing their patience. You push their buttons, half expecting them to just snap at you. Now you sit back and wonder, when are they going to leave? Will they confirm my deepest fear that I'm just unlovable? So, even in this great new relationship, you might cheat or break up with them for no apparent reason, all because your gremlin is telling you that you're just not good enough for this new relationship, and your toxic ex was probably right. Now you find yourself sitting with the unexplained breakup. Everything seems perfect. Your partner's kind, supportive, genuinely interested in you, and all the little quirks that make you special. But then out of nowhere, you sabotage it. You pick fights over some of the most trivial things. You distance yourself. You become emotionally unavailable. All because your sabotage gremlin has been in your ear telling you to run before you end up getting your heart. The best way for you to avoid self sabotage is by recognizing some of the most common behaviors that present from it. One of the most popular behaviors being procrastination. You're waiting till the last minute to get things done. It's like telling your future self, you can handle all of this mess on your own. I don't have time. I'm watching Netflix or scrolling through TikTok or whatever mindless activity you're doing in the moment. One of the most annoying excuses I hear from people who try to justify their procrastination is, well, I just work better under pressure. That's a lie. You're lying to yourself. You're lying to whoever you're speaking to. No one does the best job that they can do under pressure. Being really good at throwing things together at the last minute and not allowing yourself space for the just in case moments that always happen does not mean that you work well under pressure. I mean, if you really think about it, do you want to pay $100,000 for an event that someone planned for a year, or pay $100,000 for something that was just thrown together 2 days before the event was supposed to happen? Think about a wedding or a milestone birthday party, whatever the occasion. Giving yourself the time and space to slowly work through your checklist will always ensure that you get better results. And this also stems into other parts of your life. Like with you guys, you all are college students. So think about how much information you retain if you study the material for 3 weeks versus staying up all night trying to cram it all in 3 hours, right? You're going to retain the information that you've studied ongoing for 3 weeks. That's just the way it is. You don't procrastinate to get things done, especially if those things are really important. And we can just quickly go down the list of other things and give a short definition. Um, all of that stuff will be uploaded into the worksheet on the discussion board. So the next one would be self temptation, doing things like indulging in activities that you know you're not supposed to do, like someone who's on a diet but buys pastries on a daily basis, or a recovering alcoholic keeping company with current alcoholics. Another behavior is reprioritization. You set out to achieve a specific goal, like writing your paper. Then all of a sudden, reorganizing your DVD collection becomes top priority, because we all know that the world can't function if you don't have your movies separated by genre and in alphabetical order by the last name of the boom operator. The next behavior would be self medicating. And this one's pretty self explanatory. You feel bad, you seek temporary happiness with indulging in unhealthy things and or unhealthy activities, drinking, drugs, gambling, overeating, uh, irresponsible sex activities, and so on and so forth. Then there's perfectionism. You're not satisfied until every pixel aligns, every comma sparkles, and your PowerPoint presentation could win an Oscar. Meanwhile, your deadlines are creeping up on you like water in a sinking boat. Have you ever met someone who turns every instance of constructive criticism or suggestion into some sort of argument or fight? This is defensive sabotage behavior. It doesn't matter what you do or say, if the individual has even an inkling that you may be speaking about them in a negative way, they automatically go on the defense. And whatever the issue is never going to be solved, and they will never move forward in a positive direction. And last on our list is the individuals who have all or nothing way of thinking. These individuals self sabotage by justifying not doing things just because they feel like it's not good enough, it's not grand enough, it's not big enough, it's not impressive enough. So, for example, a person might justify not taking a jog around the neighborhood just because they aren't marathon runners, or a desk clerk not taking a chance at going for a promotion because they can't automatically be promoted to a chief position. We all find ourselves guilty of one or more of these behaviors at some point in time, but learning how to recognize how they negatively impact your ability to achieve your goals is half the battle. And you have to ensure that you don't allow these behaviors to become a pattern in your life. Once you see that they've become a pattern in your life, then you know you are on the road to self sabotage. So, we talked about all the whys, hows, and recognition. Now, let's talk about how we can break free from the gremlin of self sabotage. And your break free is going to start with awareness. Your sabotage gremlin is in your head telling you all the different ways that you're just not good enough or how you're going to fail. So when you have these thoughts, the goal is to recognize them as potential self sabotage. Ask yourself, is this behavior helping or hindering my goals? Imagine you're at a crossroad. Your behavior, the choices you make, can either propel you forward or they can trip you up and hold you back. And when you ask yourself if your behavior is hindering or helpful, you need to answer yourself honestly. Because while you could potentially harm others, the one person that you're going to hurt the most is going to be yourself. If it's hindering progress, pause, reevaluate, adjust your course accordingly. Going through your break free, you start by challenging your own beliefs. Our minds are like old libraries filled with dusty old volumes of beliefs. Some are timeless classics, others are outdated manuscripts. But how do we know which ones to keep and which ones to discard? Start by questioning those old narratives that you've been holding on to. Are they really true? Or are they just gremlin whispers? Did you develop them due to things that happened to you, or were they things, beliefs that were simply passed down to you from the adults who raised you like some sort of heirloom? At some point in time, we all could benefit from the belief audit. Just like you take the time out to do a massive overhaul or spring cleaning of your home every year, you also have to do this with your mental space. Clear your head, Get rid of the things that don't serve your best interests and keep the things that do. I call this the sabotage gremlin exam. You ask yourself if this belief is really true, or am I just holding on to it because it's just always been there? The sabotage gremlin loves to mask as a needed fact. So here's an example of what that exam might look like. The belief you might have is that you're unlovable. Your gremlin has been telling you this for years, saying things like, well, remember that awkward date you had in high school? Clearly you're unlovable. Now, these are the thoughts that you have. This is a belief that you've been carrying around since high school. You're what, 24, 25 now. You ask yourself, is this true? Am I actually unlovable? Then you think about it and you realize, well, what high school kid wasn't awkward? Why am I, a grown adult, basing my life decisions on a social skill that I fumbled through during the most awkward time of every person's life? I'm grown. I know more. I've had practice dealing with all different types of people. I understand that not everyone on this earth is going to like me, and I'm okay with that. There are people who exist that actually care about me and want the best for me. So, yes, I am lovable. I can throw out this false belief and replace it with something that's more beneficial. This is how we take a mental inventory. You can even write it down if you have to. Create your own personal belief Bible. The next suggestion that I have for ridding yourself of self sabotage gremlins is to seek support. As great as we all think we are, sometimes we just don't have the ability to do everything on our own. And there's absolutely no shame in admitting this. And admitting it about yourself to yourself, then getting the help that you need and deserve. Therapy is meant to teach you healthy ways to unburden yourself from the unnecessary things, the unnecessary thoughts and ideas that plague on us on a daily basis. It's not a weakness that you need to shove to the side or suppress, because of course we all know that not dealing with an issue only makes it worse. So please go to therapy. If your excuse for not going to therapy is financial or fear based, then at the very least you can surround yourself with supportive and healthy minded people. People who don't contribute to the negative soup that your sabotage gremlin has been cooking up and force feeding you for the last 20 years. Supportive friends are like your campfire circle. You all sit around the campfire, sharing stories, laughter, and warmth. You can be empathetic towards one another instead of always being a source of negative criticism. You extend each other a helping hand whenever it's needed. You listen without judgment and remind each other of your strengths when you want to give up. You just be there for them and you have each other's back. You are good support systems for one another. And this isn't to replace therapy, it's just another way of uh, it's another way of getting help and support that you need if you don't see therapy as being a viable option in that moment, but you still need to figure out a way to go get something that we can do that most of us rarely do is offer yourself the compassion that you desperately need. Give yourself the compassion that you would offer to others. Give yourself the compassion that you wish you could get from the people around you who claim that they care. When you stumble, be kind to yourself. Be the friend to yourself that you would be to others, the friend that your sabotage gremlin could never be for you. Acknowledge the faults that you have, the mistakes that you've made, and let yourself know it's okay. I messed up. I'm going to regroup and I'm going to try again. At least this time around, I know what not to do. Having self compassion is like having a gentle reminder that imperfection doesn't automatically disqualify you from love or progress. Give yourself the hugs that you need. Picture a friend who's having a tough day. They spill coffee on their shirt, they miss the bus, they forget their umbrella, and then it starts pouring down rain. You'd hug them, right? You'd say, everything's gonna be okay. Tomorrow is a fresh new start. Now turn that hug inward. When you spill your metaphorical coffee, hug yourself. Whisper to yourself, it's all right, and tomorrow is a new day and you can start fresh. As you practice your self compassion, remember that you are not alone in this, because we're all stumbling and we are all learning as we move forward in life. And sometimes the great aspects of our lives emerge from all of our many imperfections. In the end, we are all responsible for untangling the knots that our sabotage gremlins have tied in our heads. In the quiet corners of our minds where whispers echo and old beliefs linger, the self sabotage gremlin is going to be creeping around. But we all have the ability to rid ourselves of it. We all can veer off of the self sabotage path once we realize the direction that we're going in is in the opposite direction of where we actually want to be. Even though we know progress isn't going to happen in a straight line, we still walk the path. We step over the puddles, jump over the potholes, go around the bend. You may even take a wrong turn or two and have to backtrack every now and then. You learn not to take directions from the GPS of the self sabotage gremlin. We recognize all of the old narratives and we gently challenge them. We become our own best friends. When we fall, we extend a helping hand to ourselves, saying, hey, it's okay, let's try again. We seek support and ask for direction without shame, whether it be through therapy or the warmth of a group of friends. We seek companions on this journey. They hold our vulnerability and remind us that we are not alone in this. We offer ourselves self compassion. We wrap ourselves in the soft blanket of self love. We rewrite the script. I am enough. I am worthy. The gremlin might try to give us wrong directions or steer us the wrong way, but we have the ability to choose whether or not we follow it and go around it as it stands in the middle of our path. As we embrace self-compassion, we find that our imperfection isn't failure, it's just our humanity. And in this messy, imperfect humanity, we will discover our strengths and we will get ourselves going on the right path so that we learn to grow and move forward and not hinder and hold ourselves back by sabotaging our own goals and achievements.
And twist myself at the spine. Don't wanna overthink it, baby. It's just